Hello everyone, and welcome to another beer review. Now, today we're back on the Scottish series, and we've got a bit of a sister beer. I think we did the more famous one. I think it was a good few years ago. And it's the sister of this beer is probably quite popular because I've had a few people mention it in comments in the past, and it's one of the beers that people seem to kind of like from Scotland, apart from Tennent's, of course. But today we're going to be doing Wee Jock. It's an 80 shilling heavy. There you go, 80 shilling. So 4.4%. It's brewed in Broughton. Apparently it's supposed to be smooth and malty. And what does it say about it? Because there is spiel in the back. Woo! So Wee Jock is an iconic session ale from Scotland's original craft brewery. Smooth and malty with a toffee nose and spicy aftertaste. Not spicy again, for God's sake. We got enough of the last beer we did with bloody spicy. What was it? Can't even remember what it was called now. But that was all spicy nonsense everywhere. So it was. But anyway. What's that beer now? Darren, I'm getting old. By the way, did everybody have a nice St. Valentine's Day? Did you all enjoy yourself? Did you? Did you have a nice meal? Did you get any flowers? I've never been bought flowers before. Probably will do when I die. I think they're all saving it up, so I'll get loads of flowers when I die. Probably a lot of people think, yeah, hopefully in the next 10 minutes. But anyway, so apparently it's got a spicy aftertaste. Wee Jock is a beer to enjoy at home or with your mates. Crack open the banter with a cheery Wee Jock slanger. There you go. And yeah, it just says malts is pale ale, crystal and roasted barley. And the hops are Fuggles, First Gold and Magnum, without the PI. And good thing is, no pairing notes this time. So it'll probably go well with, not well with mild cheese, roast chicken or pork. So there you go. So yes, let's crack it open and see what it's like. Woohoo! I'm kind of buoyant about this one. Yeah. So yeah, St. Valentine's Day. Plenty of roasters going about, so there was. Adrian was telling me about a couple of roasters he's seen basically coming out after a lunchtime celebration on St. Valentine's Day. You know, apparently he wasn't a looker, and well, if Greenpeace spotted her, they'll probably try to drag her back into the sea. That's not my opinion. This is what he was telling me. Right, let's get this poured. I'm concentrating this time. My slippers aren't getting it this time. I think the last time my slippers got it. There you go. Ho. Let's see what this is like. For people on the podcast, is this slightly off white head? Half a finger at most. It's kind of clear, get a kind of a light ruby colour as normally we get, or you could call it dark amber or light ruby, that type of stuff. But yes, there's a kind of darker kind of red ale, but not as much as a ruby ale would be. Slightly lighter tones from that. But yes, you could probably say kind of maybe slightly chestnutty colour is another way of putting it. So there's lots of different ways we can turn around and say colour. But there we go. And yeah, and of course with a typical Scottish beer, the head's fucked off already. How marvellous is that? And the smell is? Well, it's malty. Slightly warty. There's a slightly wartiness to it. So there is. But yeah, very malty. Can't smell any hops, but yeah, I'm getting kind of caramel, toffee kind of tones. And yeah. And yeah. Very kind of malty and slightly sugary as well. It does smell kind of quite syrupy. and that's probably it's also kind of helped me kind of drag me towards kind of slightly warty kind of smells. But yeah, so let's see what it tastes like. Um, mm, mm. Um, First impressions, it's lacking. That's the first thing I'm getting. Is it feels like it's lacking a bit. That's the problem. It's missing bite. There's no real bite to it. It feels that all the flavours come in at the front of the mouth, all the multi flavours, the sweetness and that, and then the rest of it, mid tongue, right to the aftertaste, is it just kind of dissipating off, and it just kind of there's lacking. There's nothing really going on so much in the middle, and nothing really going on at the end. It's all right at the front and centre, and then that's it. It just kind of mellows out. Maybe a light bitterness at the back end, but I'll be totally honest, it's just not what I expected. Going by Old Jock, I expected this to be more like a kind of a traditional heavy. The problem is it's not. It actually feels, because Old Jock's a kind of a richer beer, and this just feels like it's a slightly kind of watered down version. That's what it feels like. A slightly diluted version. It has similar flavour tones in the malt and things like that, and it's just no. It doesn't really feel like it's a beer in its own right. It just feels like it's a lesser copy of Old Jock. Yeah. Um, it's just lacking, especially in the mid tongue. It's lacking the mid tongue, and really isn't much there in the aftertaste either. To be totally honest, it's quite one dimensional from where the flavours are, and yeah, that's a bit disappointing. Really, it's really not what I kind of imagined it to be, and yeah, it does feel like, well, why don't we take the recipe, make it lighter, and then we'll just basically send it out as a kind of standard heavy, and it's not, because it doesn't have the bite of a heavy. A heavy's got to have that bit of bitterness at the end. I mean, I always class a heavy as like kind of Scotland's answer to a kind of bitter to a certain degree. I mean, obviously, it's not as bitter as a more traditional English bitters, but there is a slight kind of bitter edge to the back end, and it's not really there in this one. It just no, it's just, and it is. This is the thing. It's got the maltiness and the syrupiness there, but it doesn't really. It just doesn't go with the body it's got. Because of course this is a lighter beer. It has less body than say Old Jock, but some of these flavour tones just don't really kind of match it, because you expect these kind of flavour tones to be in a richer beer like Old Jock, not in a beer like this, and it just they stand out because you really feel that they shouldn't be there, you know. So it's like it's kind of too malty, but doesn't really have the body to back it up, and you're thinking, what's that about? I'm trying to get acclimatized to it, because maybe it's the case. It's like what I've always said is, you can't just take little sips and leave your judgment there, because you're doing a disservice to the beer, because everything's all kind of fluid, and depending on what you've been eating and what you've been doing that day and everything else will depend on how quickly your mouth will acclimatise, especially when it's the first beer. This is the first beer. I'm going to be doing a couple of reviews at the one time, and usually it's a case of the palate for the second and the third one's usually not too bad, but the first one usually kind of suffers a bit. So I make a point of making sure that I drink enough of the first one to make sure that my mouth has got acclimatised and I'm picking up. Plus, I stagger them in the what I think is the kind of flavour profiles. So the darker, stronger beers will be at the end, and I kind of lay them out that way. So I'm not basically starting off with a stronger beer and then going on to a weaker beer then and things like that. I don't mix them like that. I do them in kind of what I imagine the beer strength will be. Most of the time that actually works out, but sometimes I do get caught out whereas what the hell, but to the best of my abilities, I try and stagger them in the right way. So it's a case of I'm doing the weaker beers at the front at the start, and then I'm moving on to the kind of stronger beers each time, and especially in flavour, and we'll see where I get with that. But yeah, sometimes you do need to get acclimatised to it because you just don't pick up the flavours, and sometimes, initially, because you are drinking the beer for the first time, and this is the problem. And sometimes it's the case that anybody, you try a beer for the first time, I don't know, and I'll maybe have another one and see what it's getting better and everything else. And then, I've had beers where initially I wasn't a big fan of them, but I've kind of grown into them and I enjoy them now and things like that. And I'm sure lots of people watching have been in a similar kind of boat with that kind of situation where, I didn't really like it initially to start off with, but kind of grown into it, and I really enjoy them now. So that's the idea where you see all these ones taking little gilly sips, and you're thinking, come on, son, who are you kidding? You're not going to pick up. You've got to get your mouth acclimatised and a right good glug of them, because it's the only way you're going to do it. You can't review a beer when your mouth is going through what we call culture shock. Come on, you're not giving the beer a chance. And with me, I want to be fair to the beers, but I also want to be fair to myself as well, because at the end of the day, as I've always said, I actually want beers to be good. I don't want bad beers. I don't like ranting and raving and going on. Well, I do like ranting and raving about other things, but I don't want to rant and rave about beers so much, because I want the beers to be good, because I like beer. So if I could basically do reviews and I enjoyed every beer, it'd be absolutely fabulous. But that's not reality. That's living in cloud cuckoo land, because beers are made for different types of palates, different tastes, and with different ingredients and different profiles. So there is going to be ones that you just aren't really going to like. That's just life. You can't like everything, There you go. There's a life lesson in there somewhere, apparently. There's a moral to that story, apparently. And you're probably thinking, well, shut the hell up and drink the bloody beer. And you're absolutely right. I got a bloody itch now. Yeah, and I'm struggling with this one. Struggling just because it's not really delivering what I wanted it to deliver. Mouthful is fine, easy drinking, probably maybe slightly lighter. It is going more towards the flat end, and just in general, I'm just having a problem with the malt, which is something I probably would very rarely say, because I do like malty beers. I like malt forward beers. I do like bitterness at the back end. That's my joy. Nice maltiness, front of the mouth, nice malty body, mid-tongue. Maybe something, a little accent flavours there to keep it interesting, and then a good strong finish. I like that. That's my kind of perfect kind of beer. Depending on that, in different styles, you can get kind of following that kind of remit. But this one is, the malt flavours just don't match the bodiness in the beer, because it is a lighter version of the beer. But these malt flavours, you would expect it in a kind of stronger, richer beer like Old Jock, and it just does give you that kind of sensation that it feels like it's a watered down version. And let's be totally honest, if you take Old Jock and water it down, then you're not going to get you're not going to get a good easy drinking beer. No, it doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. What you're going to do is just end up with a kind of watered down version of Old Jock. So you're giving kind of accent flavours related to Old Jock, but you're not giving the kind of body and intensity and everything else, and it just kind of, you're shortchanging people, and that feels, that's what I'm kind of getting with this. I feel that it's kind of a being shortchanged because it doesn't feel it's the same quality. So I buy this and I buy it. In fact, what I maybe will do is it'd be interesting to actually get Old Jock and Wee Jock together side by side, and let's see how much of the flavours are kind of transferring over. Obviously to a different intensity, but it'd be interesting to see that, because I do honestly feel that either it's a very similar recipe that's been dialed back, or it is, like I say, worst case scenario, a watered down kind of version, which, let's be totally honest, that's not good for anybody. That's just a cop out. I don't think they have done that, and I hope to God they haven't done that, but it doesn't stop me from feeling that that's what I'm kind of tasting. So let's start off breaking down these flavours. It's quite sweet, which is the first thing that puts me off. It's a bit too sweet. There's plenty of malt flavours, but what you're getting is, you get the malt flavours, you get the sweetness, and you're getting all this toffee and kind of caramel accents right at the front of the mouth, and to a decent intensity. Nowhere near to the intensity of Old Jock, but going by what you're getting is a kind of body, the feeling of the kind of beer, body wise, especially at the front and the mid tongue. These flavours really shouldn't be there, because you see, malt brings body, because the grain is what it does. The grain brings body to the beer, and the problem is, if you're doing a malt forward beer, then the body is going to be coming from the malted grains, because that's where predominantly the most of the grains are going to be malted grains. So the body of the beer is going to come from that, and the problem is, if you're getting flavour tones that the body isn't really supporting, you're thinking, well, how are you getting these flavours then? Because if you were using these type of malts to that degree to get these flavour tones, because you have to then basically use quite a lot of these to get these flavour tones, then why is the body not there at the same time? But then again, if you did that, you'd get a beer more like Old Jock and not like Wee Jock, what we're drinking just now. And that's where alarm bells are going, whoa, whoa, what the hell's going on here? Because that doesn't add up. It's that kind of Miss Marple or Poirot moment, and you're thinking, no, that doesn't make sense. And that's what I'm getting. And then it moves on to the mid-tongue, and it's just these flavours just kind of slightly weakening as it just kind of travels through. And this is the thing, the flavours kind of weaken, but the body kind of stays the same. The body doesn't weaken. So you think, what the heck's going on there? So the flavours are kind of starting to kind of tail off towards the kind of aftertaste. But the body's kind of like that. And the sweetness is another one. The sweetness is quite consistent as well. It's not as if the sweetness is starting to kind of tail off. So these kind of malty flavours and the kind of toffee and caramel accents, they start to kind of taper off towards the back of the mouth. But the body doesn't kind of weaken or lessen. And the sweetness doesn't either. And then you get to the aftertaste where you're left with little accents of malt, and it's really more sweetness. in the back end run anything. You maybe get a little hint of bitterness, but let's be totally honest, it's nothing. I mean, it's quite dead in the back end. It's quite a sweet finish, and overall, it's quite a sweet beer. And let's be totally honest, a traditional heavy isn't that sweet, and that's one of the things that's kind of thrown me and probably put me off even more. It's too sweet for this type of beer. Old Jock doing a kind of rich, kind of wee heavy, that type of stuff, then yeah, fine, you can get that away with that sweetness because it's supposed to be a kind of more richer kind of beer. This isn't supposed to be a richer beer, but it's too sweet. And again, alarm bells are ringing. Why is it so sweet? What the hell's going on? And yeah, overall, oh God, no, I'm actually really quite disappointed. But what I will do is I'm going to revisit this. I'm going to give it a score as an individual, but I'm going to revisit this with Old Jock. So I'm going to put them side by side and try and see if we can work out what the hell's going on. And if these flavours are very kind of similar, if they're really transferred between the two, but just different intensities, then it may be a case is either, I would probably say that maybe slightly kind of watered down an Old Jock. Or is there differences there where it is a separate recipe and a separate brew that's kind of very similar to Old Jock but kind of dialed back, which hopefully it is, but even then doesn't make it a good beer. It's actually quite disappointing and it's too sweet. If you're doing an 80 shilling, a 70 shilling or an 80 shilling kind of Scottish ale, it's way too sweet for that. So on that basis, no, it's not a good one. So out of 10, what would I give this? Here's a question. I actually wanted to like this beer, I really did. I actually thought, well, if they're doing a more traditional 80 shilling and it's kind of, done to the kind of same standard as Old Jock, then I'm on to a winner here. Unfortunately not. And that's probably the biggest disappointment. That it just, what I thought in my mind, what it was going to be like, isn't. Yeah. Out of 10, what would I give it? It's just too sweet for me. It really is. It's just too sweet for this type of beer. And it is really just annoying me. And I just feel that it's just imbalanced and everything else. There's a lot of contradictions in this beer. This is what it feels like. A lot of contradictions. The flavours just don't seem to kind of add up to all the kind of other parts of the beer. They don't seem to really kind of go. It's just kind of something's not right. The alarm bells are ringing. So from that point of view, I can't even give it an average score. So I'm going to give it below average because I wouldn't want to drink another one of these. I honestly, be totally honest, I'm going to, because I says I'll basically match it up with Old Jock and just see where we're kind of going with this and see how much of a connection between the two there are, because I'm suspicious. I'll be totally honest. Something dubious has been perked within my psyche. I do feel there's a kind of dubiousness about this. So on that basis, the best I could give it is a 4, below average. But I could drop it down quite easily to a 3 because that sweetness is annoying me. It really is. It just shouldn't be there to that intensity. But there's other things that are annoying me as well with this beer. So yeah. I'm being kind by giving it a 4. I could quite easily give it a 3, but I'm going to give it a 4. But I'll be totally honest, it could be quite easily a 3. It really is. It's just not right. For me, it's just not right. It doesn't make sense. But to be continued is probably the best way. And I will basically, obviously, trying it again with Old Jock and everything else, and we'll see how it goes. And if I find it's better then and everything else, then I will adjust my score. But for now, I'm going to give it a 4, but I'll be totally honest, I'm being generous. I could quite easily give it a 3. So totally honest, yeah. So yeah, right now, at the moment, it's 4 out of 10, to be continued. It's 4.4%. I think it's 4.4%. I'm not telling you any lies now. Yeah, 4.4%, 500ml bottle, roughly about just under £2 a bottle. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye for now.